Welcome to iOS Insights. This tutorial is about using variables in Swift, a basic example. Are you new to Swift programming and wondering how to use variables in Swift, or are you already familiar with using variables in Swift but looking to improve your skills? Either way, this video is for you. We will now start the tutorial. Within Xcode, create a new iOS project by clicking on the iOS tab and then click on the Application tab and click on Next. Give the project a name. We'll call this one Variables because the application is about variables. For the interface, select Swift UI and then click on Next. Save the application anywhere. You can save it on your desktop, for example. And then delete lines 13 to 16. Now enter the following. Dot on appear var customer name string question mark equals John Smith var order date equals date open bracket close bracket var order number int question mark equals 1 2 3 4 5 var item name string question mark equals t-shirt var item price double question mark equals 20 var item quantity int question mark equals 2 var total price double question mark equals item price question mark 0.0 times double, open bracket, item, quantity, question mark, 0. Print, open bracket, comma, customer name, open bracket, customer name, question mark, question mark, print, open bracket, comma, order number, colon, order number, question mark, 0. Then print, comma, order date, question mark, date, open bracket, close bracket. Then print, open bracket, comma, item, name, question mark, comma, then print, quantity, item quantity, question mark, 0. Then print, price per item, pound sign, item price, question mark, 0.0. And print, total price, pound sign, total price, question mark, 0.0. Now all the code has been entered, we will now run the application. So to run the application, just select any simulator from here. I'll be selecting iPhone 14 Plus. And then click on the run button, which is here, the triangle. And then to see the output on the console, you click on view. And then you click on debug area and then activate console. At the moment, the application is just compiling, so you should see the output in a few seconds. Still compiling at the moment. Now you can see the output. So the output is customer name is John Smith. The order number is 12345. The order date is 2023, the 4th of April, 0404, 9:41 and 44 seconds. The item that was purchased is a t-shirt and the quantity is 2. The price per item is £20 each. Because we bought 2, the total price is £40 as shown here. So how this program works. In the code above, we define the customer name, which is here. This is a variable customer name. Order date, order number, item name, item price, and item quantity as optional variables using the question mark symbol. So all of these are optional because they have the question mark symbol. That means you can apply a value to them or not. An optional variable can contain a null value or an actual value. We use the question mark operator to provide a default value of 0.0 for the item price and 0 for the item quantity if they are nil, which is here. That's the 2 question marks. We also use the question mark operator to provide an empty string for the customer name if it is nil, and provide the current date using the date function as a default value for the order date if it is nil. So here on line 27, if the order date is nil, if there's no information in the actual order date, which is here, then it will provide the default order date from the date object, which is from here, which is date, open bracket, close bracket, on line 27, highlighted here. We calculate the total price of the orders using the optional item price and the quantity variables, and assign it to the optional variable total price. We use the question mark operator again to provide a default value of 0.0 for the total price if it is nil. We use string interpolation to display for all the details, including the customer name, order number, order date, item name, and item quantity, item price, and total price. We use the question mark operator to provide an empty string for the customer name, which is here on line 25. Zero for the customer order and 0.0 for the item price and the total price if they are nil. As you can see, variables, they are really important in programming. They enable information to be retrieved and calculated and displayed. So we have now reached the end of the tutorial. Thanks for watching. Please comment, like, and subscribe. See you next week. Bye. Welcome to iOS Insights. This tutorial is about the best way to use if statements. Are you new to Swift programming and wondering the best way to use if statements? Or are you already familiar with how to use if statements in Swift but looking to improve your skills? Either way, this tutorial is for you. We will now begin. Within Xcode, click on iOS tab and then click on App and then click Next. Give the application a name. I'll just call this one if statements. Click on Next and then click on Create. Delete the lines between 13 and 16. To start the if statement conditions tutorial, type in the following. Delete line 15 and type in dot, which is full stop. So it's dot on a pair. And then type let temperature equals 20. Let is raining equals true. If temperature is less than 15, print it's chilly outside. Don't forget your jacket. For the second if statement, type if temperature is more or equal to 15 and temperature is less or equal to 25, if is raining print it's a bit rainy out there. Make sure to bring an umbrella. Print it's a nice day outside. No need for an umbrella. For the third and final if statement, type if temperature is more than 25, if it is raining, print it's hot and raining outside. Bring an umbrella and stay cool. Else, print it's hot outside. Stay hydrated and wear sunscreen. We will now run the program. To run the program, click on the triangle in the top left hand side, which is here. And also you can select the simulator type that you want to compile to. I'll be using iPhone 14 Pro. It's compiling at the moment. So as you can see, the output of the program is it's a bit rainy out there. Make sure to bring an umbrella. So how this works is that in this program, we first set two variables, temperature and raining, which is here. We use a series of if statements to check the temperature and weather conditions and prints out an appropriate message. The first if statement checks if the temperature is less than 15 degrees Celsius and reminds the user to bring a jacket if it is. So this is the first if statement on line 20. The second if statement checks if the temperature is between 15 and 25 degrees Celsius and whether or not it is raining. This is the second if statement. If it is raining, the program advises the user to bring an umbrella, which is this statement here, or this print statement, to bring an umbrella if it's raining. If it is not raining, the program tells the user that there is no need for an umbrella, which is on line 28. It's a nice day, so there's no need for an umbrella, which is on line 28. The third and final if statement checks if the temperature is greater than 25 degrees Celsius and whether or not it is raining. This is where it does the check. If temperature is more than 25 degrees. If it is both hot and raining, the program advises the user to bring an umbrella and stay cool. If it is just hot and not raining, the program advises the user to stay hydrated and wear sunscreen, which is the print statement on line 36. Conditional statements are an essential feature of programming languages that allow developers to control the flow of their program based on specific conditions. Although Swift's if statements provide a powerful and concise way to implement conditional logic, other programming languages also offer similar constructs that allow developers to achieve the same functionality. Regardless of the language used, mastering conditional statements is crucial for developing robust and efficient software. We have now come to the end of the tutorial. Please like, comment and subscribe, and see you next week. Welcome to iOS Insights. This tutorial is about more tips for using loops in Swift. Are you new to Swift programming and wondering how to create loops? Or are you already familiar with loops but looking to improve your skills? Either way, this video is for you. We will now start the tutorial. To create the iOS project, select the iOS tab and then click on the app and then click on Next. Give the project a name. We'll call this one Loops because it's about loops. Click on Swift UI as the interface and then click on Next. Click Create to save your application to the desktop. Delete the lines between 13 and 16 and also delete the line 15 and now type in dot on a pair open bracket close bracket. The first loop we will demonstrate is the for in loop or for loop. So type in for index in 1 dot dot dot, so that's 3 dots, 5, open bracket, print the current index is index. To run the program, select your simulator. I'll be using iPhone 14 Plus. And then click on the Run button. Looks like a triangle. And also to see the output, click on View, Debug Area and Activate Console. The program is just compiling at the moment. It's finally compiled. As you can see, the for loop output is displayed below in the console output, where it shows the current index is 1, the current index is 2, the current index is 3, the current index is 4, and then finally the current index is 5. So how this works is that this code uses a for loop to go through a range of numbers between 1 and 5. The loop initializes a variable named index and assigns it the first value in the range, which is 1. Then it executes the code block inside the braces, which prints a string that includes the current value of the index using string interpolation. After executing the code block, the loop increments the index to the next value in the range and repeats the process until it reaches the end of the range, which is 5 in this case. For-in loops are commonly used in Swift to iterate over a range of values such as an array, a dictionary, or a sequence of numbers. In this code, the loop iterates over a range of numbers using the using the 3 dots on line 17 operator, which creates a range that includes both the start and the end values. So the start value is 1 and the end value is 5. The loop executes the code block once for each value in the range, allowing you to perform a specific operation on each value. So this is the for loop that we just done, and there's another loop which is called while loop. So we'll stop this application from running now and comment out the code so we don't get confused. To comment out the code, just do \, star, and then star, and then another \. So the loop that we will create now is called a for loop. To create the for loop, just type in the following: var count equals 0, while count is less than 5, open bracket, close bracket, print the count is count. Count plus equals 1. To run this application, just click on the Run button. As you can see, the output is between 0 and 4. So it displays the count is 0, the count is 1, the count is 2, the count is 3, and the count is 4 within the print statements. So we'll stop the application from running now. So how this works is that the for loop initializes a variable named count, which is on line 21, with a value of 0. Then it enters a while loop that executes the code block inside the braces as long as the condition inside of the parentheses is true, which is here. So as long as the counter is less than 5, it will repeat everything between the braces, between the brackets. Inside the loop, the code prints a string that includes the current value of the count using string interpolation, and then increments the count by 1. The loop will continue to execute until the value of the count is no longer less than 5, at which point the loop will terminate and the program will continue executing any code that comes after the loop. Both while and repeat loops are used for iteration in Swift. The main difference between them is that a while loop first checks the condition before executing the code inside the loop. While a repeat loop executes a code block at least once and then checks the condition. In this code, the choice of loops in this code, the choice of while versus repeat while does not matter, as the loop will execute at least once and will continue as long as the condition is true. So that was the while loop that we just demonstrated. The next loop we will look at is called repeat loop. So what we will do is comment out the current code by using a backslash, star, star, and then another backslash. And then to create the repeat loop, we'll type in var, which is a variable, num equals 0. Repeat, type in the word repeat, open bracket, print, the number is num, or we can use the word number to just make it easier to understand. So just rename the variable, which is the var, rename it from num to number on line 28. Let's put number back in there. And then we need another counter, which is number plus equals 1. And then a while number is less than 5. So what this loop does, it repeats itself 5 times between the numbers 0 and 4. So I'll run it to demonstrate. As you can see, the output is the number is 0, the number is 1, the number is 2, the number is 3, and the number is 4. The code first initializes a variable name, number, with a value of 0. Then it enters a repeat while loop that executes the code block inside the braces at least once, and then continues to loop as long as the condition inside the while statement is true. Inside the loop, the code prints a string that includes the current value of the number using string interpolation, and then increments the number by 1. So this is where it increments the actual number so that the loop displays 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it just adds the number onto the current number, like concatenation, and then assigns the new value into number. This will continue to execute until the value of number is no longer less than 5, at which point the loop will terminate the program and the program will continue executing any code that it comes after the loop. Repeat while is similar to the while loop in that it repeats a block of code until a condition is no longer true. However, unlike the while loop, the code inside the repeat block is executed at least once before the condition is checked. This means that even if the condition is false from the beginning, the code inside the repeat block will execute at least once. In this code, the choice of repeat while loop is appropriate because we want to ensure that the code inside the loop runs at least once. In general, loops are useful in any situation where you need to perform a repetition task, or when you need to process a large amount of data. However, it is important to be careful when using loops, as they can cause your program to slow down if used inefficiently. Therefore, it is important to optimize your loops and use them wisely to ensure that your program runs efficiently. We have now come to the end of the tutorial. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment and subscribe, and see you next week. Welcome to iOS Insights. This tutorial is about how to use Swift functions to simplify your programming life. Are you new to Swift programming and wondering how to use Swift functions to simplify your programming life? Or are you already familiar with how to use functions in Swift but looking to improve your skills? Either way, this video is for you. We will now start the tutorial. Having created your iOS project, delete lines 13 to 16. And then delete line 16. Now enter the following. Let result equals add numbers num1 and num2. Print result. And now add the actual function called add numbers. So now you type in function, as in func, add numbers, open bracket, number 1, int, num2, int, and that line, the minus sign, and then the more than sign, and then int, then open bracket. And then you just type in return num1 plus num2. Oh, we made a mistake. I need to move lines 20. So you need to move lines 20 to 22 after 21. So now we'll run this program. And also we have to rename add numbers to be we have to rename add number to be add numbers. Now we'll run the program to see the output. as you can see, the actual answer is 3, because it's adding 1 and 2 and passing it to the add numbers function and displaying the actual result to the print line via the console, and the actual answer is here, which is 3. So how this works is that this code defines a function called add numbers that takes two integer parameters and returns their sum. It then calls the function with the values 1 and 2 and stores the result in a variable called result and prints the value of the result to the console, which is 3. So that's the first example of using functions. So the next example of using functions, we would delete what we've done previously, or you can comment it out, it's up to you. To comment it out, you just do \star and then star and then \, so that the code doesn't run. So the next example is called string length. So what we will do is create a function called string length. So we use the reserve the word in Swift, func, string length, open bracket, string minus sign more than int return str.count, and then within your on up here on line 17 or 18, just press enter and then type in print open bracket string length, and then type in the word of the string, for example, hello world, and now run the program. The program is just compiling at the moment. The output is 11. How this works is that the code defines a function called string length that takes a string parameter and returns its length. It then calls the function with the value hello world and prints the result to the console, which is the integer value of 11, the length of the string hello world. So that's the second example of using functions. To create the third example, just comment this line out on line 18. And now we'll create the third example. So type in func invert boolean bool minus sign bool return bang sign bool and then within the on appear on line 18, just enter return, and then type the following, which is print open bracket invert boolean, and then type in true, and now run the application. As you can see, the output is false. This code defines a function called invert boolean that takes a boolean parameter and returns its opposite. It then calls a function with the value true and prints the result to the console, which is the boolean value of false. So by using the bang operator, it just converts it into the opposite value. So if it was true, it would be false. If it was false, it would be true. And now we'll be doing the final function. So just comment out line 19 so it doesn't run. And now type in func greet person open bracket ID string name string minus sign more than sign string open bracket return hello open bracket close bracket name your ID is open bracket ID close bracket nice to meet you full stop. On line 19 press the enter key and then type in print open bracket greet person type in 1 then comma and then Fred, and now run the application. As you can see, the output is hello Fred, your ID is 1, nice to meet you. How this code works. This code defines a function called greetPerson that takes two parameters, an ID and a name, and returns a greeting message that includes both parameters. It then calls the function with the values 1 and Fred and prints the result to the console, which is a string message. Hello Fred, your ID is 1, nice to meet you. Functions are a fundamental tool in programming as they allow developers to encapsulate reusable blocks of code that can be called multiple times with different arguments. They help to modularize code and promote code reuse, making programs easier to write, read, and maintain. We have reached the end of the tutorial. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. See you next week. Welcome to iOS Insights. This tutorial is about generics and how to create them within Swift. Are you new to Swift programming and wondering how to use generics? Or are you already familiar with generics but looking to improve your skills? Either way, this video is for you. We will now start the tutorial. Having created your Swift UI project, delete lines 12 to 16. I mean lines 13 to 16. delete lines 13 to 16, and then delete line 15. Now type in dot on a pair, open curly braces and close curly brace, and now type in func display info more than sign t less than sign, open bracket, for input t, open curly braces, if let number is equal to input as question mark int, open curly braces, and then close the curly brace, print, open bracket, comma, the input is a number, colon, open bracket, number, close bracket, and then comma, else if let name equals to input as string, open curly braces, print the input is a name, colon, open bracket, close bracket, name, else if let my value is equal to input as bool, open curly braces, print this input is a boolean, my value, else print, open bracket, comma, unknown, unknown input. So the first thing we've done within this function, we created a function called display info. This is defined as a generic function that accepts any type of input. That's why it's got t here and here as a generic. And then on line 22, it checks if the input is an int, which is here. And then on line 23, it displays the message for the int, which is here. Print the input is a number, open bracket, number, close bracket. That's where it displays the value that was entered or assigned to the generic of the variable when it's unwrapped on line 22. And then on line 24, it checks if the input is a string, and then if the input is a string, it unwraps the string and displays the value of the string on line 25, which is here. And then on line 26, it does similar thing. It makes sure that the value being passed in is a boolean, And then if it is a boolean, it unwraps it and displays the actual boolean on line 27. And then if none of these cases match an int, a string, or boolean, it then goes to the last case, which is the else statement, and then it will print out unknown input. So how we test this, we have to go back to our dot on a pair and then type the following: display info for, so we just type in a number just to test the numeric for 42. When we run the application now, it will should display this input is a number. So line 23 should be executed. So let's run it and test. So to run it, you just click on the triangle on the top left hand corner, or near the top left hand corner. Here it is. And then to view the output or to view the console, you have to click on View menu and click on Debug area and then Activate Console. And now we should see the output. It's taken a bit of time to load, but the computer is a bit slow. As you can see, the output is, the input is a number 42, so that's the number that was passed to the generic. As you can see, the generic function accepts the integer. It wasn't stated or bound to any type of data type, it's just a generic type or flexible data type. So now we'll test the generics to see if it works with a string. So what we'll do, we'll stop the application by clicking on the square, comment out the code that we created there on line 16, and now type in display info open bracket for Joe Blogs. When we run this application, it should say the input is a name, since this is a string. So as you can see, still loading, it's nearly there. Yes, loaded now. As you can see, it displays the input is a name, Joe Blogs, because we've passed in Joe Blogs to the display info function. So Joe Blogs is a parameter or value that we're passing in. To test the final data type, this will be a boolean. So all we do is type in display info and then type in true and then run the application again. It's loaded at the moment. Yeah, now it's loaded. So now it's displayed the output, which is this input is a boolean, which is here within the console. The display function is a generic function that accepts any type of input and displays information about the input. By using if-let syntax to check the input type, the function is able to handle different types of inputs and display appropriate messages. This function can be used in a variety of scenarios where the input type is not known in advance. We have now come to the end of the tutorial. The tutorial solutions are downloadable from iosinsights.co.uk. Please like, comment and subscribe. See you next week. Welcome to iOS Insights. This tutorial is about Swift arrays. We will now start the tutorial. An array is a data structure that allows you to store a collection of values of the same data type. Arrays provide a convenient way to organize and access data by assigning each element a unique index based on its position within the array. This makes it easy to access specific elements within the array by referencing their index. Arrays are commonly used in programming to store and manipulate large amounts of data, such as lists of names, numbers, or other values. To start, we will now create an empty array that will later on include a set of integers. So the first thing you need to do is type in var my array colon open bracket index close bracket equals open bracket close bracket. And this line creates an empty array of integers. Next we assign the integers to the actual array. And how we do this is by typing my array equals open bracket 1, 2, 3. This assigns a new array with values. And then next, to display the elements or the data in the array, type in print my array open bracket 0 close bracket, and this will print the first element of the array, which is 1. Oh yeah, forgotten to include the dot on a pair. So the dot on a pair, that should be on line 15. So just type in dot on a pair with the open curly brackets and then a closing curly bracket. So now we'll run this little example. It's still loading at the moment. Still loading, it's taking a bit of time to display. This MacBook is a little bit slow. It's finally loaded. As you can see, the output is 1. And the reason why it's 1 is because array starts from the index of 0, and because we asked the actual program to retrieve the first value, which is 0, that means it's going to retrieve 1. because that's 0, 1 starts at 0, and 2 that starts at the first element, which is 1, and then 3 starts at the second element. So now what we will do is modify the second element of the array to have a value of 4. So just type in my array, open bracket 1 equals 4. And then to print the contents of the array, just type in print, open bracket my array, and then this will print the new contents of the array, which will be 1, 4, 3. As you can see, the contents is 1, 4, 3 on this line here on the console. And then now the next thing we will do is assign a new array with the values to my array. So just type in my array equals open bracket 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now type in print my array. Dot count. So what this will do is display or print the amount of elements or records within the array using the dot count function. So what we'll do, we'll comment out these previous print statements so that it doesn't get confusing. And now we'll run this one. As you can see, it prints out the actual count, which is 5. So the amount of elements in this array is 5, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this is achieved, as I said before, using the count function of the array object. And the next thing we'll do is add a new element with a value of 6 to the end of the array. So just type in my array dot append 6 print open bracket my array. So now that we've appended or added an additional element to the array, the output will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6. 6 as the new element that was added. As you can see, here is the output. of the array 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6 as we use the append method to add a new element or to add additional information to the array. The next thing we will do is to remove an element from the array. So to do this, just type in my array dot remove at 2. So what this will do, it removes the element at index 2, which is the third element from the array. And then to print the information of the new array, just type in print my array, and this prints the entire array, which is now 1, 2, 4, 5 and 6, because the third number, which is this one here, which is the second element that was removed from the array, because remember, array starts from 0, so it's 0, 1, 2, and we're removing 2 here from the array. So I just run it now to demonstrate. As you can see, within the console, it's removed the number 3, so now the array only holds 1, 2, 4, 5 and 6. So the next thing that we'll try to do is sort the array. So to sort the array, just type in my array dot sort. And sorting an array is like listing an array in alphabetical order, in descending or ascending order. And now type in print my array. So what this will do now is print the entire sorted array. As you can see, it's sorted the array 1, 2, 4, 5 and 6. But just to test it properly, I'll mix up the numbers a bit. So I'll put 5 here, 4 here, 2 there and 1 there. And then the output should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. As you can see, it sorted the array. Oh yeah, and 6 will be included as well, as we appended 6 to the array. So it will be 1, 2, 4, 5 and 6. But as you can see, it sorted the array, which was here, the original array, and then it added 6 to the array. So the output is now 1, 2, 4, 5 and 6. But before, this was all unsorted, this was all random. And now it's all structured in a numerical order on the console, 1, 2, 4, 5 and 6. And now the next thing I'll show you is how to iterate over each element within the array. For example, to loop over each item within the array. So to do that, just type in 4. So we use a for loop for this one. 4 elements in my array print element. So all this does is prints each element one by one within the array. As you can see, here's the output 1, 2, 4, 5 and 6, which is the original array from here, and then it appends the number 6 on this line here. We provided a brief tutorial on how to create, modify and manipulate arrays in Swift. We covered the basic operations such as creating an array, accessing and modifying elements, adding and removing elements, sorting an array, and iterating over its elements using a for loop. These fundamental operations will be useful when building real-world applications, and we hope that this code snippet serves as a helpful reference for those getting started with Swift and SwiftUI. We have reached the end of the tutorial. Please comment, like and subscribe, and see you next week. Oh yeah, remember you can download the examples from iosinsights.co.uk. Okay, bye. Welcome to iOS Insights, your go-to channel for iOS app development using Swift and SwiftUI. Whether you're a beginner looking to learn the basics or an experienced developer seeking advanced techniques, this channel aims to provide you with valuable insights and knowledge. Today's tutorial is about sets. A set is a collection type that stores a collection of unique and unordered elements of a specific type. This means that each element in a set must be unique and there is no specific order in which the elements are stored. Sets can be useful in situations where you need to store a collection of values without duplicates and you do not care about the order of the elements. And this is the application that we will be creating to demonstrate how to use sets in SwiftUI. As you can see, we can search and filter the set by typing in a name or a value or a character. For example, Alice, that filters on Alice's name. Or if I type in B, that'll filter on Bob. And it displays the amount of records found within the set. And if a record isn't found, for example, if I just type in this, it'll come up with this other screen to say that the character has not been found, the cartoon character has not been found. So this is the application we'll be creating within this tutorial. Within Xcode, create a new class called cartoon character. So just right click and select SwiftUI as a file. Click on Next and type in the name of the class, which is called cartoon characters, a cartoon character. Let's type in class, cartoon character, identifiable, hashable, so the purpose of using hashable is that Swift provides a powerful way to work with hash-based data structures and ensures efficiency when doing lookups and comparisons. Let ID equals UID. So this auto generates a unique ID. And the purpose of using identifiable is to enable the actual data to be looped around within the list. Let name string. Let ID number int. Let image string. So the image is the character's image, the cartoon image. And then we need to create an initializer. Let's type in init, name, string, ID number, int, image, string. Self.name equals name. Self.id number equals ID number. Self.image is equal to image. Next thing we need to do is to create another function, and this function is a static function. So we just type in static function equals LHS cartoon character RHS cartoon character, and then it should return a boolean. And then what we need to do is type in return LHS ID is equal to RHS.ID. So what this does, it allows you to perform operations like searching, removing duplicates, and checking memberships efficiently. And how this is achieved is that it checks if the ID of the left hand side, which is LHS, and the right hand side, which is RHS, characters are equal. So if the left hand side and the right hand side of the IDs are equal, it returns true. If the IDs are equal, indicating that the characters are considered equal. So that means they're the same object. And next thing we need to type in is hash function, which is func hash into hasher in out hasher. And then we type in hasher dot combined ID. What line 27 does, it combines the ID of the character into the provided hasher. This ensures that the character's ID is included in the hashing process. The hasher will use the combined value to create a hash value for the character. Next thing we need to do, type in another function, which is another static function called character list set, and this just returns the cartoon characters as a set with no duplicate data. And all the characters or all the information is all hard coded, but really it should be coming from a web service like an API or a database. So just type in set, open bracket, and then type in cartoon character. I just type in John, give it an ID, 1, image 1, and then I'll just copy and paste this from the cartoon character to the end of the close bracket. Just copy and paste this, put a comma there, and repeat it twice. And then change the values, so just call this image 2, ID number 2, and for the names, just type in Alice. For the third record, just type in Bob for the name, and ID number, type in 3, and image, type in 3. So what that does between line 31 and 33, it creates a set of character objects containing a list, predefined characters. Each character is initialized with a name, ID, and image name. The set ensures uniqueness of characters based on their properties. And then the actual return statements, it just returns the actual character objects that we created, which is here on line 31, that just returns the actual objects. That includes the set that was created. It's a good idea to use a set, especially if you're working with or using large sets of data, because a set doesn't allow duplicates, it's unordered, and the performance is much better compared to an array. Next week we will populate the actual GUI, the lists, with data that's coming from the array, so that you can see the cartoon characters, their name, their ID, and you can filter using the list. And then it just shows you how a set works and how the data can be manipulated within the set. So that's what we'll do next week. Thank you for joining us. If you found this tutorial helpful, please comment, like and subscribe. See you next week. Welcome to iOS Insights, your go-to channel for iOS app development using Swift and Swift UI. Whether you're a beginner looking to learn the basics or an experienced developer seeking advanced techniques, this channel aims to provide you with valuable insights and knowledge. Welcome to the second part of how to use sets in Swift and Swift UI. In this session, we will be focusing on creating the UI to enable the user to search through the set and retrieve the information, and to scroll up and down the list. So that's what we'll do next. In the previous video, there was an error on line 26 within the cartoon character class. On line 26, the function should be called hash and not has. Before it was written as has, but it should be called hash, H-A-S-H. So now, within the content view, we will start to create the user interface. So the first thing we need to do is, after line 10, enter the following: @state private var search query string. This will be used to search and filter the list of the set. Next, type var filtered character set cartoon character. If I think we missed out something, that should be let all characters it's all one word. Let all characters equals cartoon character, the character list. So what this will do, it will call the character list method within the cartoon character class, which is defined here, and then it will return an array, a set array of cartoon characters to the UI. If search query is empty, return all characters. So if the user doesn't enter anything within the search text field, by default just display all of the characters in the list. Else return all characters dot filter character in character dot name dot lowercase dot contains search query dot lowercase. So what that does, it filters the character based on the search query. It filters the characters based on the search query by using the filter condition. If the lowercase name of the character contains a lowercase search query, then it returns true if the character's name matches the search query, else it returns false. And then the next thing we need to do is, within the VStack, like on line 25 to 28, delete that code block and then enter text, how to use sex in Swift UI. Dot font, dot title, dot font weight, dot bold, dot padding, text field, search, text, search query, and that's the user input for the search query when the user wants to like filter on the character, the cartoon character. Dot padding, dot text field style, rounded, rounded border text style. If filtered characters dot is empty, so what this will do, when the filter results are empty, then it will display characters not found, text box or text like a label, characters not found, so it will display character not found within the text, dot font, dot title, dot font weight, dot bold, dot foreground color, dot red, dot padding, else if the filtered character array isn't empty, then it will display all the records. Else list filtered character dot sorted $sign dot name less than $sign dot 1. So this will filter on the characters' names and sorts the list of characters. And next thing we need to do is Need a bracket there. Character in H-stack. Image. This will display the cartoon image. Character. Oh, that should be removed. Character dot image dot resizable dot frame dot width 100 and the height is 100. So that's the size of the image. Next we create a V-stack. Add a spacer. Text. String. Character. Is it characters or character dot ID number. Text character dot name dot bold and spacer. We also need to enter a foreground color of blue on line 47. So just type in dot foreground color dot blue. And then we also need to delete the padding on line 59. And then on line 57, add the text field. To show the record count of the found records in the set. On line 53, we need to include the open bracket, close bracket for the spacer, as I missed it out by accident. And then now, what we need to do is add the images, the cartoon images, to the assets folder. I have images on the desktop, so I'll just drag them into the project, which is here. So I just select all of them and then drag them all into the assets folder. Yeah, they're all in the right location, just checking. Yes, that's correct. And then now, what we can do, we can run it to see if the application works or not. And oh yeah, something else I need to show you is that Image 1, image 2, and image 3, they all map to the assets images. Image 1, image 2, and image 3. The application is just compiling at the moment. It's just building. I did display John. Maybe I spelled it incorrectly. I spelled it as images.1. It should just be image. So if I rename the image to image 1, and run it again. Now it's displayed. So if I type in Alice, it filters on Alice. Type in O, it gets all the characters with the name that includes letter O. And it also displays the record count as well. 3 records are found. So if I type in Bob, it should say 1 record found. Bob, yeah, 1 record found. But if I type in a character that's not in the set, it displays a message, character not found. This code showcased the power and simplicity of Swift set data structure, which can be useful for modeling collections of unique items, such as character with names and IDs. Thank you for joining us. If you found this tutorial helpful, please comment, like and subscribe. See you next week. Welcome to iOS Insights, the channel for iOS app development using Swift UI and Swift. Today's tutorial is based on Swift dictionaries. Swift dictionaries are an ordered collection that stores key value pairs, allowing efficient data retrieval and updates based on unique keys. They are fundamental for organizing and managing data in Swift applications, supporting various data types. In this tutorial, we will define a dictionary of contacts to store contact information. Type the following: bar contact open bracket int open bracket string equals open bracket. One open bracket name colon John Smith town colon New York and then to create the second contact you just do the same thing but change the data, so we just give this ID a 2 and then put a name, just enter Jane Doe. For the town, enter Chicago. Then for the final name, just give it an ID of 3. And for the name, just enter Bob Johnson. For the town, enter Chicago. I think there's a mistake there. That should be, all these should be commas and not full stops. So what line 11 is doing is the first contact with an ID of 1 and associated details in the nested dictionary. And then line 12 is similar. Second contact with an ID of 2 and associated details in the nested dictionary. And the same goes with line 3. So now we created our dictionary that has key value pairs. So the key are, for example, the name and the town, and the value is the actual name, like John Smith, and the value for the town is New York. The value for the next name is Jane Doe, and the value for the town is Chicago. So this is what they call key value pairs. And the first key is always an integer. That's why we start it as an int when we define the dictionary. So the dictionary has an int, and then it can have 2 strings after that. So the next thing we need to do is within the B stack, we delete everything within the B stack because we're not really using any SwiftUI components in this tutorial. And then delete the padding. And now what we can do is just create our function names. Which is private function print all contact information for ID info in contact print ID but it should be lowercase id for open bracket key value in info print open bracket key capitalize colon open bracket value. And then let's type in print /n just to like create a line break. So what this does, it will starting from lines 25, it will loop through each key value in the contact dictionary and prints the ID of the contact. So on line 26, it will display 1, 2, and 3. And then on lines 28, it will loop through each key value in the info dictionary and then print each key value pair in a formatted manner with the key capitalized. So when we run the application on line 29, it will also print the actual the person's name and the town. For example, John Smith and New York as well. So if we run it now, there's something else we need to do. We need to move this function call and then put this within on a pair. So if you run it now, we should see a list of IDs, like the ID like John Smith and New York, that'll be 1, and 2 will be Jane Doe in Chicago, and 3 will be Bob Johnson, and the town will be Chicago. So let's just run it and see. So as you can see, it's displayed the IDs and the name of the person and the town from the dictionary. And how this was done by using the key and the value is displaying the key on line 32, which is capitalized. For example, town is capitalized and name and ID, that's the key. And the value is, for example, Chicago and Bob Johnson or Jane Doe in Chicago, as you can see here. The key is name and the value is town. Here is lowercase, but then we convert it to uppercase on line 31. So that's how you can print and retrieve the contents of a dictionary. And the next thing we will do is to enable a functionality to search by town. So we will just comment out this and create another function. It's called function search by town string var found contacts int So what this does on line 28, it initializes an empty array to store the IDs of contacts found in the specified town. Let's type in for ID info in contacts if info open bracket comma town, which is the key, is equal to town, found contacts dot append equals ID. So what this does, it checks if the town key in the info dictionary matches the specified town which has been passed in, and the specified town has been passed in just on line 27 as the town parameter. And then if it is found, we put the ID, or we pass the ID onto the array. And then the next thing we need to do is type the following: if found contacts is empty, then print no contacts found in town. So it will just display it cannot find any contacts in, for example, if it was like Chicago or if London was there, it's unable to find any contacts. Else print contacts found. Else it will print the contacts found in the town. And then next we create a for loop for contacts ID in found contacts. Let contacts info equals contacts. And then what we need to do next is we just print ID contact ID. So if the contact is found, it will print the contact ID that's found in that town. And then we just type for key value in contact info print key capitalize capitalized open bracket close bracket value. Oh, there's an error somewhere. Contact info. Let me delete that and type it again. Contact I was missing we needed to unwrap it. So I just do force unwrapping. Really, we should be using safe unwrapping. So the next thing we need to do is type in print. Bracket key, capitalize, value. Or what we can do is go back to line 42 and do the proper safe unwrapping. So we need to use the 2 question marks, open bracket, colon, and then the close bracket. So that just means it will have an empty array if there's nothing there. If it's nil, it'll create an empty array instead, so the application doesn't crash. And then on lines 49 or 50, just type in print to print a new line and separate the information of each of the contacts. So now we can try the new functionality, search by town. So to do that, just go within or in between lines 23 to 24 and type in search by town and put the town name, like Chicago. And then when we run it, we should find 2 contacts that lives in Chicago. As you can see, there's 2 contacts, and they are Jane Doe and Bob Johnson, both Chicago town. And the next function we can test or try out is search by ID. So using search by ID is similar to using search by town, but it just allows the program to search by ID instead of the town. So to do that, just type in the following: print search by ID int this should be a function, not print statement. If let contact info is equal to contacts ID, and that's another way of doing safe unwrapping on line 69, so the application doesn't crash if it's nil. Print contact found with ID for key value in contact info, print key capitalized and then the value. Else print no contact found with ID. That was the passed in ID. So now we go back to, there's an error somewhere. I think it's to do with the else statement. We need to close the loop, so the loop ends here on line 76. And yeah, there's another error. So we need to delete that comma there and put the comma here. And then there's too many closing brackets, so we just delete the last one there on line 84. And now we can call the function search by ID. So the function the parameter that we're going to pass into the function search by ID, we just can pass in any number, even if it's not in the dictionary. It shouldn't crash. But I'll first try it with the value that is in the dictionary. Okay, so I'm going to be passing in ID 1, which is John Smith. And it located John Smith, contact found with ID 1, name John Smith, town New York, which is here, John Smith. Now I try it with an ID that doesn't exist. Let's do that one, 348. And it should hit the else statement. No contact found with ID 348, which is this condition here. The Swift code showcases a dictionary-based contact management system utilizing integer keys and nested dictionaries for storing data. Thank you for joining us. If you found this tutorial helpful, please comment, like and subscribe. See you next week. This tutorial is about objects and classes. An object is like a digital version of a thing you can touch or interact with. Imagine a toy car. It's an object that has its own special features like color, size, and the way it moves. In programming, an object is similar. It's a bundle of information, attributes, and actions, functions that relates to something specific. Just like you can have many toy cars, in programming you can create many objects from a single blueprint called a class. Objects helps programmers organize their code and make it easier to build complex things by putting together smaller, understandable parts. The first thing we need to do is to create a class called address. Click on the control key and then left click on the mouse, select new file, and then for the Swift file, select it, put the file name, just enter address. So that will be the name of the class, which will be an object. Next thing to do is to type class, address, and now we need to add our properties to our address class. And the properties are normal variables, which are bar, street, string, that hosts the street, bar city, string, bar town, string, and bar postcode, string. Next thing we need to do is to create an initializer. And the purpose of the initializer is to initialize the properties of the object. So the initializer takes 4 parameters, which are 4 variables, and then assigns each value to the attributes or the variables of the class, which is address. Next thing we need to do is to create a method. So just type in function, full address, that returns a string, return, so we're returning street, and then city, and then town, and postcode. The next thing we need to do now is to create another class called person. Just select Swift file, type in person, create the class, person, and the person has, in this example, 3 attributes. The person class has 3 attributes, which are var, first name, string, var, last name, string, and var, address. That can be optional. So the address can be nil, you don't have to define it. And then the next thing we need to do is what we've done in the previous class of address, is to create an initializer. So just type in init and then select the initializer's parameter values for the constructor, and then it's self-populated there. So the initializer contains three attributes, which are first name, last name, and address. Then the next thing we need to do is to create a set address method.
so that the program can assign the right values to the address class. We'll just type in set address street string city string town string and then postcode string. So what that line will do, it will create a new address instance using the provided parameters, which are here. These are the parameters on line 22. The new address will hold the street, city, state, and the postcode information. So now we have to create a reference. We'll just type in address equals address and then pass street, city, and town and postcode. And then the next one we need to do is create a print info method that will display all the information to the user on the console. So just type in func print info print add 2 new lines and then print name first name last name. If let address equals address, so if the address is not null, isn't nil, then display the address. So display the person's address, full address. Else print address not available or address not found. Now I'll just compile it just to make sure it's correct. Compiled. So now the next thing we need to do to run the application is go into the content view. And then within the content view, we need to delete lines 13 to 16. Also delete line 15. And then on line 14, just type in dot on a pair. And then to create our instance of person equals person. And then we add our person to the initializer or constructor. So it's the person's name, first name, and the person's last name or surname. And then we need to add the person's address. One, two, three, Main Street, City, London, Town, Stratford, postcode, E1, or if you're in another country, you might be using zip code, so that would be a zip code and not a postcode. And then the next thing we need to do is to create or call an instance of the print info method so that when the application is running, the information will be displayed to the console. So just type in person dot print info. So print info is a function that we created earlier, which is this function here. So to display the information to the screen, we have to display it to the console because this application doesn't have any GUI interface. So we have to use the console. So we go to view, select view, and then activate console. And then, yeah, that should do it. Let's see if it works. So that should activate the console. Let's run it now. So when we run it, we should see the name of the person there, the first name and the last name, and their address. And there it is. See, the name is Joe Blogs. The address is 123 Main Street, which was defined in the person object, I think, or the address object. Yeah, in the address object, you have to find here where the actual parameters go. So we pass the actual parameters to the person's constructor, and then pass the address parameters to the set address method, and then we call the print info function within the person's class. And here's the method. So this example just shows how to relate an object to another object, like a hierarchy. For example, a person can have one address or many addresses. And this was done by including the address object variable within the person's class on this line, on line 14. And then passing the actual attributes, address attributes to the address constructor. So that's how that was done.
Thank you for joining us. If you found this tutorial helpful, please comment, like and subscribe. See you next week.
In this tutorial, we will explore the process of adding a class to an array, allowing us to construct a collection of objects. The first thing we need to do is to create a new class called user. class user, and then we need to create one variable. It's called name, string, which is optional, and also an initializer. And we also need to create another variable, which is the ID of the person, which is var ID, int, optional. And then with the initializer, just add the ID, int. And now we need to create our methods. The first method will be called find by ID. And the purpose of this method, it enables the user to type in an ID. And then when they type in the ID, the actual function will search for the ID based on the user. And if it's found within the array, the actual object would be returned that contains a user ID with their name. So just type in func, find by ID, int, in users, user, return the user object, so it just returns one user if it's found. Now we need to loop through the array, user in users. So the array is this one here, users, and the data type of the array is open bracket user, close bracket, which is this one here on lines 20. So now we need to go within the array and check to see if the user ID is equal to the passing parameter. So just type in if user ID is equal to ID. That means it's true. Return user. If it cannot be found within the array, then just return nil. I'll just compile it. Compiled. The next function we need to create is find by name. It's similar to find by ID, but this time it allows the user to enter the name to be found for that user. So just type in func, find by name, open bracket, name, string. So name string is the name that we want to be found, we want to search for in the array, in users, user. And then that will return an array of users. Because a user can have, more than one user can have the same name, so we need to return an array. And then we need to create another variable, var, found users, user equals open bracket, close bracket. So what that does, it creates an empty array to store the found users. Let search equals name dot lowercase. Convert the names to lowercase. And now we need to do the actual search to see if we can find that user with that name. So if we go within the loop for user in users, really a better way of doing this would be to use generics. But I'll create another tutorial another time to show you how to use generics and objects. For user in users, if let username is equal to user.name question mark dot lowercase, username dot contains the search, which is the name, found users dot append user. So if any of the search criteria is matched within the array elements, then we pull out that object, that user object, and then we pass that user object onto the append method of the found users array. Now we just return an array of found users to the calling routine. The next thing we need to do is to create our sample users. Because really the users should be coming from an API or some database. But in this tutorial, it'll be hard-coded within the object array. Static function create sample users, return an array of users, var users user, create an empty array to store the user objects. That's what this does on line 47. Users dot append user ID 1 name Alice. So we're hard coding the users onto the array. And then hard code another user. So just copy and paste it. Just rename the name to Bob. The ID is 2. And then another user. Charlie. ID is 3. And then the final user is Bobby. ID is 4. Now we have our users, we can return it to the calling routine. So just type in return and users and then compile it. And then to test out the functionality, we need to test it in the content view. On lines 18, delete lines 18, and then type in dot on a pair. And then after line 21, type the following: func display sample users. Let sample users equals user dot create sample. So if you want to see the actual data straight away without creating a loop, we can do it another way. Like for testing purposes, you can just type in dump, open bracket, and then your variable, for example, sample user. And then when we run it, we will see all of this in a hierarchy. So I'll run it now. Oh yeah, we need to call the method first. So to call the method first, we have to call it within on a pair. So just type in display sample users and now run it. And then we should see the output on the console. It's taking a bit of time. Yeah, here's the output. So this is the output of the user's data object array, which is here. So for testing purposes, you can just use dump. It's much more quicker than going through the loop and type in the attributes of each object or the properties. So that's one way you can do it. But we do it the proper way, how it's normally done, which is just loop through it to display the information. So just type in for person in sample users print user ID person dot ID question mark 0. This is for safe unwrapping. So if it's nil, if the user doesn't have an ID, it will assign 0 as the default ID. And then the application will not crash. Username, person dot name, question mark, comma. So if the person's name is nil, it will just display a blank space. That's what the commas are for. I'll run it now. Now you see each attribute with the data for the object for each of the users, the attributes for the properties or the variables, which are these: id.person or person.name. Name is the attribute and ID the attribute or property. And here's the output. User ID 1, and the name is Alice. User ID 2, the name is Bob. User ID 3, the name is Charlie. User ID 4, the name is Bobby. And that displays all the objects within the array. And if you want to display an individual user, it's a bit similar to what we just done. So just type in this new function, this func, display individual user, let user instance equals user ID 5 and name David. Just to replace it. And the reason why I had to replace it because in the constructor, which is here, name is the first parameter value, and then ID is the second one. Really, it should be the other way around. Really, ID should be the first one, and then name should be the second one. Now we will display the individual user. So to do that, I'll just copy this line. And then replace person with instance. Or put it like this. Just rename user instance to person. And then now just copy the function that I want to be called and comment out the first function that we've done. And all this is doing on lines or in function display individual user is just assigning the values, which is 5 for the ID and David for the name, assigning it to the constructor, and then the constructor is then used to get the actual value and pass it into the properties or the attributes. And then to display the information of each of the object attributes, we just type in the name of the property that we want to have access to, we want to show. So we just type in ID and the name of the attribute, which is ID, or name for the attribute, and then it just displays it onto the console. The next function that we will create is to find and display user by ID. So just type in the following: function find and display user by ID. Let sample user equals user dot create sample user. So it's getting the information like the list of users from the create sample user within the users class, which is in here. This is the create sample user function. And then we need to create an instance of the users class. So just type in let user instance equals user that's nil, and the name is nil. Because we only want to create an instance, we don't want to pass any values to the constructor yet. And then now we're going to pass in the values, what we want the application to find by ID. Let found user equals user instance dot find by ID. So we're going to be doing the search on the ID, which is 2, and then for the data, we want it to search for sample users data array. If let found user is equal to found user, it's safe unwrapping to make sure it's not nil. So if it's not nil, then try to get the values, the elements from the array. So I'll just copy this line and paste it here. And replace person with found user. Found user. Else, if it wasn't found, just display an error message. User with the specified ID not found. So we're passing 2 to the find by ID method within the user class. So that means it needs to find the ID of the user, which is Bob. So Bob, line 50, should be printed to the console when we run it. I'm going to run it now. And you can see Bob was found and it's displayed within the console. The next function we need to write is find and display users by name. So just type in func, find, and display users by name. Let sample users equals user dot create sample users. Let user instance equals user ID, passing that to the constructor, which is nil, and name, which is nil. And now we will be passing in the name that we want to be found. I have to change that around again. Let found users by name equals user instance dot find by name. So the name that we want to find by or search on is Bob, and the data that we're using is a sample users data array, object array. Now we need to create a loop for person in found by username, and then we will just print the names that were found. So we just have to replace found user with person, and here as well, person. So how that works, let's go back to the find by name. So let's go back to the create sample users function. So we want to find any occurrences of the name Bob. So that means it will locate also Bobby, because Bob has similar matching patterns to Bobby. It has B-O-B, and Bobby has B-O-B as well. So it will also extract Bobby from the array. Let's run that now. Put that within dot on a pair. See, it's found two of the users, Bob and Bobby.
Thank you for joining us. If you found this tutorial helpful, please comment, like and subscribe. See you next week.